So let's take a little bit deeper dive into the acquisition plan, and let me give you on the next slide a little sneak preview. This is just a mini preview of what we're going to be talking about in the fourth session, because I've got about 35 slides that pick up on this one slide. But just in case you can't join us in December, this is horrific. This is the most depressing slide I have for you. I mean, look at those numbers. I mean, pretty respected consulting firms, McKinsey, Booz, and Mercer, three of the top firms in the world, and look at the data. 61% of recent M&A deals failed to earn back their cost of capital or better on funds invested. 61%. I mean, come on. We can all do better. I mean, you know, Firmex's commitment to educating its community. I mean, what can we do better as advisors? What can we do better in the acquisition planning process to at least flip-flop that number to 40-60 as opposed to 60-40? I mean, for God's sakes, how can we continue to earn a living in the M&A market facing shareholders and say, yeah, you know what, 6 out of the 10 times that we deploy your capital and try and return value to you, we're going to be wrong. You know, this isn't baseball where 4 out of 10 times at bat makes you the championship hitter and gets you to the World Series. I mean, these are shareholder dollars we're talking about. You know, 50% of merged companies' total shareholder return, according to Booz Allen, underperform relative to industry peers 2 years after the deal closed. Well, again, if buy versus build analysis is supposed to yield us the information we need to make sure that it makes more sense to buy versus build, and 50% of the time we're wrong, we were better off building it organically, then that's not a very good track record either. And, you know, Mercer coming in and basically saying the same thing. I mean, and most of these consulting firms are studying Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 style deals. And if they can't get it right, you know, what can we learn from their mistakes? And by the way, you know, the bigger companies tend to have more advisors, more sophisticated advisors, all of that kind of stuff. You know, you could make the argument that if this is how the big companies are doing, the mid-sized companies probably have numbers that are even worse because they're not necessarily surrounded by all the fancy pants advisors. Now, we've not seen a lot of studies coming from the middle market on whether the data points are worse or are they better. Are they better because it's you know, less food to digest? Is it worse because they don't have the right advisors or they're not going to be as disciplined in their acquisition planning? But these are the kinds of things that I will continue to challenge you as part of the Firmex community, that we can all do better, present company included. Can we be more disciplined? We've got to be able to return better shareholder value when we do these transactions, or people are going to stop doing the transactions. And then there's a lot of us on this call that are going to have to find a different way to earn a living. Okay, so that was adequately depressing, right? Everybody sunk down in their chair, needing an antidepressant medication immediately. Good. That was not my goal, but it is a tough slide to get through. Next slide. So how do we fix it? We start really getting serious about our acquisition planning. This obviously just reinforces some points that I made before. We can go to the next one. This is just, again, reiterating what some of the key components are of the, you know, or why do the acquisition plan. If any of you are on this call or listening in at a later time trying to make the case internally as to why to have an acquisition plan, here are your, key objectives. And what you're trying to do here on these couple of slides that I've shared with you is pick which of these acquisition objectives you're trying to accomplish. It could be, you know, the third bullet point, which I just saw at a client the other day, where the management team is growing, but there's not a lot of room in this triangulated org chart, and there's not a lot of career growth potential unless the company either gets acquired or the company does acquisitions. It could be about stabilization of earnings streams, filling in a missing puzzle piece. And you see this in all kinds of deals, from hospitality to seasonal. What's one of the famous deals, I think, was one of the outdoor barbecue company makers buying one of the fake log companies, Duraflame, because, surprise, surprise, in North America, 80% of their sales were in the summertime. How does a company that does 80% of its sales in the summertime offset that income stream? Wendy's bought Tim Hortons back in the day because Wendy's didn't have a very good breakfast day part. They were much stronger at lunch and dinner. Whatever your missing puzzle piece may be, looking at acquisitions is a way to make sure that you're evening out those revenue streams or evening out your cash flow cycle. Next.